Theatrical Shenanigans with
David Lipschutz.
Hello and welcome once again to Season 4 of Theatrical Shenanigans as we move past the halfway point. For anyone listening who doesn't know this voice, I am your host and UK-based playwright Rachel Feeney-Williams, bringing you another episode with a play and a guest to chat to. My guest today first appeared on Theatrical Shenanigans back in December 2024 as one of the 3 panellists on our last episode of The Panel Presents. Outside of that, he's a Chicago-based artist, associate member of the Dramatists Guild and a company member of Helena Handbag Productions. His plays have been performed throughout the United States, Canada, England and Australia. Several of his works have been published by Hoya Publishing, Smith & Krause and most recently Next Stage Press, and his works have been produced by, amongst others, Spoony Theatre, Left Edge Theatre and the fabulous theatrical podcast Gathered by the Ghostlight, which, if you haven't seen, audience, you definitely need to. It's an utter thrill to have him here, and welcome back, David Lipschutz.
Thank you for having me back.
It's a thrill to have you back. So, as always, we start at the very beginning. How did you get started in the arts world?
I have been acting since I was 6 years old, which was years ago. Was the youngest son in a production of The King and I sang Old MacDonald Had a Farm for my audition. I wouldn't say I sang it. I screamed it. Apparently, my mom, who was outside the theater space, could hear every word that I shouted to the director, and that got me into acting, which I've been doing for almost 35 years, and I love it. And I've been writing for the past 5 or 6 years. I'm a company member of a theater in Chicago that I had the opportunity to write a play that was performed a few years ago, and I was like, oh, I really enjoy writing more than I do performing, for the fact that I don't have to leave the house.
I say you vaguely touched on that, but you come with several titles, from performer through directing to acting, and coupled with the interesting one of lawyer. Do you have a preferred title, or is it an equal labor of love?
Oh, hot mess. That's my true title. No, I always joke that I'm like a lawyer by day, theater artist by night. It's like a weird Batman.
Be an amazing superhero.
I don't know. I think I'd be a very dramatic superhero. I don't have like a specific, like, if there's one word to pin down to describe myself.
And you've worked a lot with Helena Handbag Production. How did you get involved with that, and what was it like?
So they did they had auditions. This was 2009 for a remount of their like hit musical Poseidon, an upside down musical, which is a parody of the Poseidon Adventure from the 70s. And I went in and auditioned, and I actually became really good friends with the director during that process. And they ended up casting me as the Roddy McDowell part from the movie. My British accent, flawless. Not gonna lie, flawless. I'm not gonna do it for you now because it's so good that you're gonna be like, I don't know another British accent.
Okay.
You're like,
Hugh Grant better watch himself.
I did a couple other shows for them, and I ended up doing a lot of like understudy coverage, like last minute understudy coverage. And I think they took notice of that, and I think that is what led to me becoming a company member, is that like I really put the effort in to help support the shows, and I love it. I'm so happy to be a member of this theater company.
And as well as working with Handbag, you've also co-written with fellow Chicago-based playwright Dana Hall. How was that process, and how do you genuinely find the world of collaboration?
Oh, I love collaborating with Dana. I think we've worked on 6 plays together, and I've been very fortunate. All of them have been performed. Like, I feel very blessed. And Dana's such a talented writer. I don't, I cannot recall the moment that we had decided we wanted to write something together. But I was kind of shocked because I was like, she's a great, she knows how to write real characters. And I know how to write parody of real characters. I don't know how to write real characters. And so I was like, yes, no, I would love to write with you. I would love to actually create some down to earth, believable characters. I think that would be very exciting. But no, the way we've written is we usually one of us will start the draft, and then we'll have like a Google share file, and we usually have this where everything is um, open to change, unless we have like an asterisk. Like, I really love this line. I want to keep this line somehow. And even then, we'll still have a conversation about, well, I don't think it's really necessary, but like convince me kind of thing. Yeah, and it's been great collaborating with her. I think I was spoiled. Yeah.
So as a playwright, do you find there are certain genres or certain topics you love to write about, or is it just anything and everything?
Oh yeah. Definitely like silly, campy plays. If I'm chuckling at what I'm writing, then I feel like I've succeeded in what I want to succeed in, whether or not an actual audience would laugh at what I think is funny. Um, uh, and that comes from being a couple or working with Helen Handbeck for so long, because they do camp drag uh, uh, parodies, and I love that genre so much. Like I love being silly on stage, so I love writing plays where people can be silly. I have veered out into more like serious plays, but I think that's my bread and butter is writing silly.
So, do you have any plans or projects moving forward this year, or maybe a dream of what the rest of the year is going to look like for you?
I have a play that's been published with Hewer Publishing,
Mm.
um, and that was published last year. And I just got an email back in January that another play of mine, which is one of my favorites, is was selected for publication with
Oh,
Hewer,
wow.
and it's called Moon Logic. I love it. It's about a. It's basically one of those point and click adventure games from the early '90s, computer game about a knight trying to save a princess, and it I love those video games, and so I had so much fun writing this. And the narrator is a sarcastic. He's very rude to the knight. It's one that is near and dear to my heart, and so the fact that it's going to be published with Hewer Publishing is a very it. I'm very excited to see what adventure the play will like, where it will go, like if it'll be performed at high schools or where, but I'm excited for the journey ahead with it.
Okay, last question, and I've been told this one's a tricky. Do you have a standout moment, a moment that makes you look back and think, yeah, this is why I do this?
I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and uh, the theater that I did The King and I at did a production of Snoopy the musical, which is the sequel to Charlie, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Just no one knows it. And the guy who played Snoopy, uh, his entrance was him like coming out from the back of the audience and like running onto the stage. But I still remember this moment. Like it stayed with me forever. That when he's running um, down through the audience, he sees me. I'm sitting on the end of the aisle. He sees me, looks at me, picks me up, twirls me around, and puts me back down. I think he might have even patted me on the head. And that was such a glorious moment for me as a theater patron, 7 years old, and I was like, I love this. I love everything the magic and the beauty of theater. So I'll say that. I'll say that's my moment
and a passion for theatre was born. Moving on from our guest now, we talk about our playwright and play for this week. Tony Deegan is a Dublin-based writer of radio and stage plays. A number of his plays have been broadcast on radio, and his stage plays, which he also directs, have won awards at drama festivals across the country. He also writes and directs for a number of local drama groups, so a very busy man indeed. Tony's play today is called That's What Friends Are For, and sees Roz ask her best friend Marge to meet her for coffee and a catch-up over the fact that she thinks her husband Paul is having an affair. So, who best to turn to for advice than her most trusted friend, who's been through a similar experience herself? Theatrical Shenanigans presents That's What Friends Are For by Tony Deegan.
This is my favourite place, Roz. Whenever I meet friends here, we always have our coffee out here in the conservatory. It's nice and private, don't you think?
Sorry, what?
Oh, I do like the decor. Nice ambience, don't you think?
I suppose.
I was delighted to get your text. We haven't had a catch-up in ages. Roz?
Yes?
You haven't touched your coffee.
What?
Your coffee. You're right, Roz. You've hardly said a word since we arrived.
What?
You're so preoccupied. You've not been listening to a word I've said.
I'm sorry. It's Paul.
Paul?
I think he's having an affair.
Paul?
He's been acting very suspiciously lately.
Paul?
He was in the shower when his mobile rang. I was about to answer it when he rushed naked into the bedroom and snatched it right out of my hand.
Well, perhaps it was an important business call.
But he didn't answer it. He just switched it off and took it back into the bathroom with him.
You have an anniversary coming up. 25th, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, he's probably organising a surprise party or something.
No, there's something going on. Every time there's a call or text, he leaves the room to answer it.
And you've no idea who it is?
No. And he has a second mobile. What does he need a second mobile for?
A lot of people have two mobiles. One for work and the other for personal use.
But why is he so secretive about them?
Secretive?
I can hear him whispering on the mobile. But as soon as I enter the room, he quickly puts it away.
Oh, I can't believe that Paul... I got to know him fairly well during my separation from Brian. Oh, you were both so supportive. And it just doesn't strike me as the cheating sort.
You think I'm overreacting? That I'm imagining it?
No. But I do think that you're worrying yourself unduly.
No, Marge. There's something going on. I can sense it.
Oh, sorry. I'd better take this. I won't be long. Oh, sorry about that. The solicitor keeping me abreast of the divorce proceedings. Oh, can you believe it, Roz? It's nearly 4 years. At last, it's finally coming to an end.
What was it that caused you to suspect Brian was...
I found a florist receipt in his pocket.
A florist's receipt?
In all the years we were married, he never once bought me flowers.
Did you confront him about it?
I let him come up with some feeble excuse. No. I rang the florist on some pretext or other and found out that he was a regular customer.
What?
He had a standing order to have flowers delivered to his office every Friday at 4 p.m. The following Friday, I paid an unannounced visit to his office.
Was he surprised to see you?
You bet he was. He nearly died. He wanted us to leave immediately. And when I asked him why he was not working late, as he did every Friday, his face turned puce.
Good for you.
Then a knock at the door, and in came his new young PA, with this beautiful bunch of flowers.
What did he say?
Nothing. He kept looking beyond me in desperation at his PA. I turned as I heard her say, "The flowers? For your wife, Mr. McQuaid."
Devious bitch.
"They're for you, dear," he said, handing me the bouquet. "A surprise."
The bastard.
"Why, thank you, Brian," I said, slapping him across the face with them. As I was leaving, I threw the broken stems at her feet.
Did she say anything?
Not a word. I heard she left his employment shortly afterwards.
You must think I'm making a mountain out of a mobile.
No. But you can't go accusing him of anything until you have something concrete to accuse him of.
I can't help feeling that there's something going on. Something he doesn't want me to know about.
Well, feelings are one thing, but it's facts that matter. And I'm a great believer in the old adage that there's no smoke without fire. And, is there?
What?
Smoke? Apart from the mobile, that is.
Smoke?
Have you noticed any lipstick smudges on his shirt?
No.
Or the scent of a strange perfume from his clothes?
No.
Is he forever in the shower?
No.
So, well, what makes you think that he's...
It's all the secrecy with his
You
mobile.
should check his mobile, see who he's texting, who he's talking to. But...
Yes?
If you do come across something of a suspicious nature, which I very much doubt, don't confront him about it straight away.
Why?
Because you want to be sure of your facts. I mean, you don't want to go accusing him and be in the wrong.
No.
Well, make a note of anything you think is suspicious. And when you've gathered enough evidence, then and only then confront him.
Is that what you did with Brian?
Well, that's why, try as he might, he couldn't wriggle his way out of it. I made sure I had the goods on him.
Oh, a text from Emma. She's outside the house. She's forgotten her keys again. Oh, look, I better be going.
Why don't we meet for lunch next week and you can fill me in on any new developments?
Thanks, Marge.
For what?
For listening.
Oh, isn't that what friends are for? Till next week, then.
You've given me a lot to think about.
Oh, hello, Paul. You were right. Yes, she's starting to get suspicious. No. I think I eased her fears for the moment, but she's going to be checking up on you, so you'd better get rid of that second mobile. Yes. And let's quieten things down for a while. What? No, there's no need to worry. We'll just have to be a little more careful in the future.
Well, I think that deserved a decided ooh at the end. That was Gilly, Fick as Marge and Perdita Lawton as Roz in That's What Friends Are For by Tony Deegan. David, what did you think?
You took the words right out of my mouth. Oofta. I'm not gonna lie, not a big fan of Marge doing her friend dirty like that.
Mm-hmm.
Very fascinating thinking at the start that this is a friend here to support another friend. She reached out. She's worried about her relationship. She has a friend who literally just went through this. And so, but then as the play progresses, you're like, wait a minute, is Marge not there as a friend? Is Marge there as a spy? Like, Marge has some nefarious reason for agreeing to go out with her so-called friend, Roz. It's a really great one for a re-listen for the fact that you discover some moments in the first half of the play that are are like little nibbles and tidbits of wait a minute, in the context of listening to it for the first time, yeah, it's a supportive friend. But then you listen to it a second time and you're like, oh, that's Marge being kind of deceitful. Like I wrote down a specific moment. It was the moment then Roz first mentions Paul, and Marge goes, Paul? And the way that your performer was great that played Marge. I mean, both performers were great, but the way Marge responded, I think about if this play was in a on stage, you could see the performer playing Marge like maybe shift a little, like subtle, but like enough where, oh, I need to mask the surprise and the potential guilt that I'm feeling right now. But in the play, I think even just the way that Marge says Paul the second time, it's really quite layered, and it was really nice that I noticed it the second time through.
I think also she seems to go on almost a strategy from the moment Roz says Paul, because she keeps giving her reasons from the word go that it's not important, it's not a thing. Because she says, you know, maybe it was an important business call, maybe it's about your anniversary. And then when those don't work, she suddenly goes a little bit back on the defensive and says, oh, and you've no idea who it is. Like trying to figure out if Roz actually knows. And once you know she doesn't know, then she thinks, okay, I'm free to advise her and steer her in a certain direction. So it's, I mean, it sounds dramatic, but it's almost Machiavellian in the way she kind of sees this scenario.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And like she gives her hints of like, if you see X, Y, or Z, make a note, and then you can confront him once you've got all the facts straight. But like basically, X, Y, and Z will never happen because Marge is going to tell Paul, I'm never going to get lipstick on your collar, things like that. So yeah, it's as you said, steering her in another direction away from Marge being caught.
And it made me wonder, because obviously Marge has been through this divorce from her own husband after he had an affair, and you have to kind of question whether it's just she wants someone else to hurt as bad as she does, and that's why she's doing this, or whether she actually feels something for Paul.
That's really interesting.
4 million questions that came to mind.
Yeah, I didn't think that it was. I find that really interesting. That is this Marge actually just trying to lash out and have someone else feel the same pain she feels? Because she mentions that Paul was supportive during the divorce at the beginning when you think she's just a friend, but then I think it's that, oh well, they actually ended up that support went a little bit further than it should have.
But that's the thing, is it can seem, as you say, you listen to it the first time and it can seem quite simple, you know, initially what you were thought as two friends, and then right at the end one turns and it's revealed as betraying as the other. But the more you listen to it and the more you think about what is being said and why, or the potential of why, the subtext just oozes from that dialogue the more you think about it. It's fascinating.
It's very interesting, the perspective here. It's from two women's perspective who have both been the cheatee in a relationship. There's so many different perspectives of how a play like this could be written. And I just find it so fascinating, the perspectives that are shown in this particular play. I think it's really interesting.
And I find that, as I say, when you read it the first time, you almost don't see that turn from Marge coming. When she takes that phone call at the end, it is a moment of, wait, what? No. Because then you've spent the entire play thinking, she's nice, she's friendly, she's looking after her. And then you get to like the last like half a page, you think, damn it, I've just spent like 10 minutes thinking she's a really nice person.
There were times throughout the play that I was like, all right, when's the other shoe gonna drop? Like, what's the twist gonna be? Like, what's gonna be happening here? I was curious what it was going to be. I did not guess the ending, but I was like, I don't think this is gonna be straightforward. I don't think this is gonna be like we're two friends meeting up and everything's hunky dory.
Yeah. Wouldn't make good theatre if that was the case, but but then you're also left with, you know, what happens next? Because Marge herself says, why didn't we meet for lunch next week and you can fill me in on any new developments? Which, as you said, is basically going to be her going away to Paul and saying, oh, no, okay, now we can't do this because she's suspicious of this. And it's like, how long is this going to go on? Are they just going to meet for lunch every week from now on just to discuss the suspicions of Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just there's so much more that could be done, but at the same time, you've been left with a wonderfully juicy tidbit at the end. It's like if you were watching this on television and it got to that point and then it ended, you'd be like, wait, what? No! I need to know! But at the same time, it's great because you're left to your own imagination. You know, we don't know how long the affair goes on for. We don't know whether Roz leaves him. We don't know whether Marge confesses. We've no idea, but you can create all of that in your own head, which as an audience member is fabulous. It's a wonderful piece to listen to, and it would be a wonderful piece to watch on stage. But I did think for a while it would be a wonderful piece to sit and pick apart as part of a drama lesson in a school. Because the more you start pulling apart what Marge is saying and the subtext that could go under there, the more she starts to round as this villain, which you don't see initially when you first read it, because you're not prepared for that moment of, oh, that phone call when you realise what she's doing. And I think if you put that down in front of a group of young teenagers and got them to pull it apart and see kind of how they think this character works or how our mind works, it would make it really interesting.
And I wouldn't call Marge the villain or a villain. I think Marge has had life experiences that led her to this point. And I can't justify calling her necessarily a villain. I don't think what she's doing is right. I won't say she's a villain. I'll say she's creating conflict.
But that's the other debate you'll get. You'll get people who either listen to this or go and, if it gets produced live, go and see it live, and they'll come out of the theatre and you'll get people debating about whether Marge is or is not a truly bad person, or whether she is a victim of her own circumstance and is therefore projecting this behaviour for that reason. So as a piece, it just keeps on giving as far as an audience is concerned.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, is that those are two ways that the audience might leave. And yeah, I think this is one that would have people talking after.
Definitely.
For sure.
Okay, we are almost out of time. David, your final thoughts on the piece as a whole?
Listen to it again. That is my final thought. I think you will have a different perspective listening to it a second time. I think it's not only will you get you will learn more listening to it a second time, but Rachel will get more hits to all of the various platforms if you listen to it a second time. So it's a win-win.
And I'm sure Tony will appreciate it if you listen to it a second time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And great work to the playwright and to the performers, and obviously to you as director.
Okay, we are out of time. David, thank you so much for joining me and discussing this fascinating play.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that is all the time we have for this episode. As always, I'd like to thank David for being here to talk with me about that fabulous piece, Gilly, Fick and Predator Lawton, who brought the characters of Roz and Marge to life, and of course Tony Deegan for writing such a wonderful play to start with. We continue this fourth series again in 2 weeks' time with another play and another guest to discuss it with, so I hope you can join us then. But in the meantime though, I've been Rachel Feeney Williams, this is Theatrical Shenanigans, bring down the curtain and saying, I hope you can join us next time. Theatrical Shenanigans is part of an RFW Scripts production, found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts and Podbean. Theme music is written and produced by Chris Cody.